There comes a moment in every serious man's life when he looks into the mirror not for vanity, not for approval, but for reckoning. In that glass, he sees not just the shape of his jaw or the wear of his brow, but the measure of his will. He sees not the surface, but the score, the truth. He sees a man governed, either by principle or by impulse, by discipline or by distraction, by a mind that commands or a mind that obeys chaos. And it is in that moment and only in that moment that destiny begins to bend. You are wasting time. And I do not say that as an insult. I say it as a diagnosis. You are not alone in this affliction. Most men will live and die without ever having mastered their minds. Most men, regardless of their talent or education, will spend their lives reacting rather than responding, consumed by trivial emotions, distracted by every shallow ripple in the ocean of life, paralyzed by the opinions of others, enslaved by comfort, addicted to noise. The mind, undisciplined, is not a tool. It is a tyrant. But to the man who learns detachment, not coldness, but control, to the man who sees emotion as information, not instruction, to the man who disciplines his thoughts as a general trains his army, all things become possible. He does not chase success. He attracts it by the person he becomes. For focus is not a gift, it is not a condition of birth, nor a privilege of the chosen few. It is a muscle, forged in the fire of decision, shaped by solitude, strengthened through repetition, and commanded by the force of will. And you, if you are willing to face yourself, can attain it. But you must do 5 things, not 7, not 10, 5. And if you do them with precision, with consistency, and with a mind unclouded by the emotions of lesser men, you will unlock elite focus. And with focus, you will hold in your hand the key to every door you once thought locked by fate. You must govern your emotional state. Let me tell you the first truth that most men never dare to learn. Emotion is not reality. Emotion is a weather pattern, a fog, a lens. And if you allow that lens to distort your judgment, you will confuse pain for prophecy and impulse for instinct. He who is ruled by emotion is prey. He who observes emotion but remains unmoved in his purpose is king. Do not misunderstand me. Emotions are not evil. They are signals, but you must never mistake a signal for a command. Anger is a signal, pause and analyze. Fear is a signal, prepare and proceed. Sadness is a signal, reflect and realign. But none of these are to be obeyed without first being examined. The man of elite focus has mastered the art of emotional detachment. When insulted, he does not strike back, he studies. When praised, he does not preen, he listens. When uncertainty arises, he does not panic, he plans. This is not suppression, this is sovereignty. And it begins the moment you learn to separate how you feel from how you act. Understand this. The difference between an empire builder and a failure is not intelligence. It is detachment. The failure is consumed by what he feels. The builder uses what he feels as data, nothing more. When you no longer react to your moods, but rise above them, when your inner world becomes stable, regardless of what storms outside you have taken your first step into power. You must define a chief aim so clear it burns. A man without purpose is a ship without a compass, sailing perhaps, but always drifting. You cannot focus when you do not know what matters. And you cannot master yourself until you have declared in blood and fire what your life is for. Ask yourself now, not later, not tomorrow, not when things are better. Ask yourself, what is my definite chief aim? Not a wish, not a vague hope, but a clear, specific, soul-rooted aim, one that you are willing to suffer for, sweat for, sacrifice for, and pursue in the dark when no one is watching. If you do not choose your purpose, the world will assign you one. It will hand you distractions and duties and dreams that do not belong to you, and you will live someone else's life while calling it your own. But when you define your aim, you create a magnet in the mind. Every action either moves you toward it or away from it. And when your aim is clear, distractions lose their power. Why scroll endlessly when you are building something eternal? Why envy another's path when yours has already been chosen? Purpose kills confusion. It silences doubt. It gives meaning to every hour and puts steel in your spine. No man of focus ever rises without purpose, and no man of purpose ever remains distracted for long. You must discipline your thinking like a warrior trains his sword. The average man allows any thought to enter his mind as if his brain were a public park. He entertains worry, regret, fantasy, resentment, all without resistance. And then he wonders why he cannot focus. Your mind is your fortress. It must be guarded like a throne. Not every thought deserves entrance. Not every emotion deserves explanation. The man who thinks clearly is rare, and the man who thinks by design rather than default is a giant. Begin with this. Thought is cause, circumstance is effect. If your life is chaotic, your thinking is chaotic. If your results are poor, your thinking is imprecise. If your mood swings like a pendulum, your mental habits are undisciplined. You must learn to think as a craftsman works his tools with purpose, precision, and power. Use autosuggestion. Speak to yourself with the language of victory. Repeat, rehearse, remind. I am the master of my emotions. I am focused. I am purpose-driven. I am detached from noise and rooted in clarity. Do not say it once. Say it daily. Say it when doubt creeps in. Say it when all seems lost. Guard your attention as a king guards his gold. Refuse the trivial. Reject gossip. Turn off the noise. Focus is not just about doing it, it is about thinking in alignment with your aim. And when your thoughts are aligned, your actions will follow. So, you must create rituals of self-command. Discipline is not brute force. It is design. You cannot fight chaos with willpower alone. You must build systems, routines, rituals that keep your mind sharp when motivation fades. The most successful men do not wait to feel inspired. They act according to design. Their mornings are not decided by mood. They are dictated by ritual. Their time is not left to chance. It is assigned to purpose. Rise early. Claim the first hour of your day for mastery. Write your goals. Affirm your principles. Visualize your aim. Condition your body. Condition your thoughts. Enter the day not as a beggar of fate, but as a commander of destiny. In the evening, review your actions. Refine your strategy. Reset your focus. Sleep not as an escape, but as a preparation for tomorrow's war. These rituals are not constraints. They are weapons. The man who lives by ritual does not waste time wondering what to do. He simply does what is required. And that, my friend, is freedom. 5. You must withdraw from the crowd to hear your own voice. The man who seeks approval is forever distracted. The man who fears judgment is forever enslaved. But the man who can walk alone, who can stand in silence unshaken, has entered the realm of kings. You cannot master your mind if you are constantly immersed in the minds of others. You cannot build your inner world if you are addicted to the outer one. The crowd will always shout. The world will always tempt. But clarity comes in solitude. Take time to withdraw. Daily. Turn off the world. No phone, no opinions. Just you, your mind, and your aim. This is not retreat. It is refinement. And in that silence, you will hear something stronger than noise. You will hear the truth, your truth. The men who have shaped history were not those who followed trends. They were those who stood apart, listened within, and acted with force. If you are to become that kind of man, you must be willing to be misunderstood, to be doubted, to be alone for a time. Because in solitude, you discover that success is not found in applause. It is found in mastery, and mastery begins in the mind. All that I have said means nothing unless you act. Thought without action is deception. Knowledge without execution is betrayal. Your future depends not on what you know, but on what you do with what you know. Do these 5 things and do them with intensity. Govern your emotions. Clarify your purpose. Discipline your thinking. Design your life with ritual. And withdraw often to refine your truth. This is how focus is forged. This is how power is born. This is how success becomes inevitable. Now go. Become the master of your mind, and you will become the master of your fate. You are not here to drift. You are not born to be a leaf in the wind. You are not a servant to your feelings, nor a slave to your circumstances. You are mind. You are will. You are purpose wrapped in flesh and breath. And the sooner you awaken to this truth, the faster you will rise from mediocrity to mastery. Let us return to the beginning, your emotions. I do not exaggerate when I say this. Emotional detachment is the foundation of personal greatness. Every empire ever built, every invention that shaped mankind, every philosophy that outlived its founder, Every fortune that lasted through generations was forged by men who did not surrender to their feelings. They acted by design, not default. They moved with clarity, not confusion. And that clarity was the reward of inner separation, the ability to see their emotions without being ruled by them. A man feels insulted and lashes out. Another feels insulted and smiles. Which one holds the power? The first is predictable. The second is dangerous because he chooses his response. And the man who chooses his response is no longer part of the herd. He becomes the architect of his outcome. Ask yourself, how many of your failures were born not of incompetence, but of overreaction? How many doors were closed, not because you were unqualified, but because you were impatient? How many bridges were burned not by enemies, but by your untrained response? And here is the great irony. When you stop reacting emotionally, you begin to influence emotionally. People are drawn to those who are calm under pressure. They trust those who speak without trembling. They obey those who do not flinch in the face of conflict. Detachment is not indifference. It is elevation. You rise above the battlefield so that you can see the whole map. You rise above your wounds so that you can lead even when bleeding. You rise above your fears so that they lose their grip. This is the beginning of power, power not over others, but over yourself. And once you are detached, you must then point that clarity toward a definite aim. Let me speak plainly. There is no substitute for purpose. 1,000 talents will rust without it. 100 degrees will crumble without it. 1,000 opportunities will be squandered without it. Purpose is the great organizer of time, the commander of attention, the filter of decision. It is what separates the urgent from the important, the noise from the signal, the movement from the mission. Without a definite aim, your days become errands. Your energy is divided. Your actions lack rhythm. And your soul begins to rot from the inside, not from laziness, but from aimlessness. And I warn you now, the world will offer you 100 distractions for every one decision. They will applaud your activity. They will praise your busyness. But understand this, being busy is not the same as being productive. Chasing everything is the same as catching nothing. So you must burn your purpose into your mind. Write it daily, speak it aloud, etch it into your habits. Let every action be weighed by this standard. Does this serve my chief aim, or does it steal from it? You must learn to say no. No to the trivial. No to the temporary. No to the people who mock your seriousness. No to the pleasures that rob you of progress. And in that sacred refusal, you will find liberation, because purpose gives you permission to be ruthless with your time and relentless with your focus. And once purpose is set, the real war begins in the battlefield of thought. Thought. This is where the invisible becomes visible. This is where action is born. This is where future is formed. Every great empire, every poem, every revolution, every fortune began as a single thought. But most men never examine theirs. They let thoughts arrive, linger, and multiply like weeds in an untended garden. You must tend to your garden. Your mind is soil. If you do not plant with intention, weeds will take root. Negative thoughts, doubts, envy, resentment, these are not random. They are the result of mental neglect, and they will grow because weeds always grow fastest. Begin with the discipline of mental fasting. Set aside time each day to be alone with your thoughts. No noise, no stimulus, just observation. See what your mind is feeding you. Interrogate your inner dialogue. Are your thoughts building your future or tearing it down? You must then practice autosuggestion, not as a gimmick, but as a reprogramming of your internal world. Every day, speak to your mind as if it were your servant, because it is. If you do not command it, it will command you. Say to yourself, I am focused. I am unstoppable. I am guided by purpose. I do not react, I respond. I do not chase, I attract. I do not drift, I decide. These are not mere words. They are tools. And repeated daily, they become grooves in the mind. And what is repeated becomes reality. Your subconscious is listening always. Feed it power. Feed it clarity. Feed it faith in your own dominion. But autosuggestion alone is not enough. You must link it to accurate thinking. You must examine your beliefs like a scientist, not a child. Most men inherit their thoughts from their environment, parents, media, fear, trauma, and they never challenge them. You must become ruthless in your mental hygiene. If a thought does not serve your aim, cut it out. If a belief limits your potential, burn it. If a pattern leads to weakness, replace it. This is not cruelty. This is rebirth. And to make all this sustainable, you must turn discipline into design. Willpower is powerful, but it is finite. Ritual is the answer. Design your life so that discipline becomes automatic. Make excellence easier than failure. Build systems so compelling that even on your worst day, your best habits still run. Start with your morning. Rise before the world demands you. Command your first hour. Do not let the phone dictate your state. Do not let other people's crises pollute your intention. Wake in silence. Write your goals. Move your body. Speak your affirmations. Rehearse your vision. Begin as a creator, not a consumer. And end your day with reflection. Ask, did I serve my aim today? Did I govern myself today? Where did I drift? Where did I conquer? Record your answers, because measured progress is the only real progress. These rituals are not chains. They are weapons. They are armor. They are your declaration that you do not serve time, time serves you. And finally, the hardest truth, the one that most men will never accept. To master your mind, you must withdraw from the crowd. You cannot find clarity while drowning in noise. You cannot hear your soul while chasing applause. You cannot become exceptional by trying to fit in. The average man spends his life seeking validation. He shapes his personality to be liked. He edits his dreams to be accepted. He trades authenticity for approval and then wonders why he feels empty. But the man who walks alone, who dares to displease, who listens to his own voice in the silence, he becomes dangerous because he no longer needs the world. And the man who no longer needs the world cannot be controlled by it. Solitude is your sanctuary. In silence, you find answers. In stillness, you find strength. In separation, you find sight. Take time to disappear, to think, to dream, to refine. Let people wonder where you went while you build what they will never imagine. And when you return, do not explain, just execute. Because your life is not a debate, it is a declaration. And focus is not something you seek, it is something you choose. Let them scroll, let them talk, let them sleep. You were made for more. And now I say again, stop wasting time. Do these 5 things. Do them with violence against weakness. Do them with love for your future. Do them as if your life depends on it, because it does. And then stand back and watch the world respond to the man who has mastered himself. Because the truth, the hard and unflinching truth, is this: time is not running out. It is being wasted, not by the ignorant, but by the capable. Not by the weak, but by the strong who have not yet learned to rule themselves. You were not born to linger in potential. You were born to command outcomes. But potential without discipline is poverty in disguise, and intention without action is the luxury of cowards. You do not lack motivation. You lack alignment. Your inner world is fragmented. You chase what you do not want. You say yes when you mean no. You scroll when you should build. You retreat when you should rise. And all of this, every deviation, every delay, is a symptom of an unfocused mind. And so we return once more to detachment. The man who cannot detach from his impulses is a slave in a velvet cage. He may look free, but his freedom is borrowed contingent on mood, contingent on approval, contingent on convenience. But the man who detaches from reaction and aligns his life with reason, that man walks through fire and is not burned. That man can be hated and not moved, tested and not shaken, admired and yet untouched by vanity. If you can master your inner state, then the outer world becomes a playground. You are no longer manipulated by circumstances, you orchestrate them. You no longer beg for opportunity, you recognize and seize it. You no longer fear the unknown, you navigate it with eyes wide open. So you must ask yourself daily, what owns me today? Anger, anxiety, comparison, distraction? And once you find the chain, break it, ruthlessly. Because every moment you remain attached to an emotion that does not serve you, you are feeding a parasite that drains your future. And in place of that emotion, install direction, purpose, not fantasy, not scattered desire, but chosen, chiseled, concentrated purpose. A man with no aim cannot focus. That is not a flaw, it is a law. The mind, when idle, will default to fear. When undirected, it will fixate on the irrelevant. When untrained, it will cling to comfort, familiarity, and decay. You must give it an aim so powerful, so personally sacred, that no lesser voice can survive in its presence. Your purpose must burn. It must be so clear that excuses melt in its heat. It must be so specific that confusion becomes impossible. Do not write down 100 goals. Write one mountain, one summit, one mission that organizes every breath and filters every decision. Say to yourself, I do not care about applause. I do not care about the calendar. I do not care how long it takes. I will become this. I will build this. I will finish this. Because a man with one mission is worth more than 1,000 men with none. And yet even purpose must be protected, guarded by the discipline of thought. You see, the great secret that few understand is this: your thoughts are not neutral. Every thought is either building or breaking you. Every belief is either arming or disarming you. Every mental pattern is either anchoring you to mediocrity or launching you toward greatness. You must become militant in your mental hygiene. You must monitor your inner world with the intensity of a soldier guarding a fortress. Do not allow self-pity to enter, not for a second. Do not entertain doubt, not as a joke, not as a comfort, not even in passing. Every indulgence in negative thought is a theft from your future self. And if you do not take your mind seriously, understand this: someone else will. The marketplace, the media, the manipulators, they will rent space in your head for free and feed you confusion dressed as inspiration, weakness disguised as compassion, distraction masked as relevance. Your focus is your gold, and you are giving it away for pennies. So you must train relentlessly, create conditions in which the right thoughts win. Use auto-suggestion not as mere repetition, but as commandment. Set your mind's thermostat. Do not let external conditions dictate your internal climate. You are the architect. You are the captain. You are the one who speaks reality into being through word, thought, and deed. Repeat: I am calm under pressure. I am immune to distraction. I am focused on what matters. I am not moved by moods. I move by mission. Say it until it becomes you, and then systematize it. Because all power must be ritualized. If it remains an idea, it dies. If it becomes a habit, it multiplies. The elite man does not rely on inspiration. He relies on infrastructure. He has a routine for war and a rhythm for victory. His excellence is not an accident, it is a system. Build systems that force you to win. Place friction between you and your vices. Place momentum between you and your virtues. Make focus the path of least resistance. If your phone distracts you, lock it away. If your time is leaking, schedule every hour. If your energy dips, optimize your sleep, your food, your breath. Build a system that protects your mind like a lion guards its den. Because in the end, discipline is not just what you do when you're motivated. It is what you do when no one is watching, when you're tired, when you're doubting. When it's raining outside and the fire inside flickers, that is when the system saves you. That is when ritual becomes royalty. And still none of this matters if you remain trapped in the crowd. Let me speak to you without pleasantry. The crowd is a disease. It is a place of mental contagion, emotional volatility, and spiritual sedation. It rewards conformity, punishes thought, fears intensity, and worships distraction. If you do not withdraw from the crowd, you will become it, slowly, subtly, without noticing. Your values will shift by degrees. Your dreams will shrink by inches. Your standards will erode by compromise, until one day you look in the mirror and realize you are no longer your own man. You are a collage of other people's fears, desires, and judgments. Solitude is not isolation. It is calibration. It is where your signal becomes stronger than the world's noise. It is where your convictions get carved into bone. It is where your focus becomes a blade that no resistance can dull. Do not fear being misunderstood. Fear being forgettable. Do not fear being different. Fear being diluted. Do not fear walking alone. Fear dying surrounded by people who never knew your soul. Be willing to vanish, to train in silence, to plot in private, to rise without announcement. Let your work be louder than your words. Let your discipline be your declaration. Let them laugh while you prepare. Let them gossip while you grind. Let them sleep while you suffer. Because when the time comes, and it will come, you will emerge not as an echo of the crowd, but as a storm that shapes it. And so I say again, stop wasting time. Master your emotions. Fix your aim. Command your thoughts. Build your rituals. Withdraw from the noise. And do it now, not when it's easy, not when you feel ready, not when the world gives you permission. No, because time is the one currency that will not wait for your excuses, and success is the one prize that will not tolerate your delay. There is a moment in every disciplined life where a great silence begins to descend, a silence not of apathy but of command. It is the silence of inner mastery, the quiet confidence of a man who no longer negotiates with weakness, a man who no longer debates his decisions, a man who no longer apologizes for being focused, hungry, and exacting in a world that worships distraction. This silence comes after the fire, after the storms of resistance, after the weeping of the undisciplined self. It is the peace of power, and you only reach it when you've buried your excuses and built your name in the stone of action. Let us now speak of time. Time, the one commodity that does not replenish, the one force that laughs at the man who delays. The man who says, I'll start tomorrow, has already failed today. The man who says, I just need more motivation, has already surrendered his throne to chaos. You do not lack time. You lack priority. You are not out of hours. You are out of clarity. If you understood what your life could be, what your mind could build, what your soul could shape, you would not waste a single second entertaining the petty, the passive, or the pointless. You would treat your hours like a general treats his strategy. You would count your minutes like a banker counts his gold. Time, to the undisciplined man, is a vapor. But to the disciplined, it is a sword. And he wields it not in haste, but in precision. The elite do not try to find time. They create it. They do not ask, how can I fit this in? They say, what must I remove? They do not wait for a clear calendar. They clear it themselves. Because they understand. Every yes is a no to something else, and every moment misused is a door closed on destiny. You must become violent with distraction. Declare war on it. If it does not build you, it betrays you. Cut the cord. Burn the bridge. Leave the group. Mute the noise. You were not born to consume every opinion, react to every post, attend every gathering, or be included in every conversation. You were born to rule your space, to guard your craft, to build your name into something so unshakable that even your silence commands attention. And you do not do that by being available, you do it by being disciplined. Reclaim your time by structuring your day with ruthless intention. Time block like a sovereign carves his land, assign every hour. Honor it like an oath. Build walls around your deep work. Protect your focus like a fortress, because the enemy does not come with swords anymore. He comes with a ping, a scroll, a whisper that says, just for a second. And that second becomes an hour. That hour becomes a pattern. That pattern becomes a wasted life. You must rise above the digital hypnosis of this age. You must train your brain not to crave novelty, but to crave mastery. The world wants you reactive, addicted, distracted, emotional. Why? Because a reactive man is predictable. A distracted man is profitable. A weak man is easy to control. But a focused man, he is dangerous. He builds systems while others scroll. He earns while others argue. He trains while others tweet. He executes while others escape. Understand this. Elite focus is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters without interruption. You don't need more apps. You need more discipline. You don't need more tools. You need fewer temptations. You don't need motivation. You need to become a man who keeps his word to himself, because that is what this is really about, trust. Focus is not just a mental game, it is a moral one. Every time you say, I will do this, and don't, you erode the foundation of trust between you and yourself. And without that inner trust, you cannot lead your life. You cannot command respect. You cannot walk with presence. But every time you follow through, even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, you become more powerful than before. Because you know that your word is law, not just to others, but to yourself. So begin now, not with grand declarations, but with small decisions kept. Wake up when you said you would. Work on what you said you would. Finish what you started, not because it's easy, but because your destiny demands it. And if you fall, get up immediately, without story, without shame, without spiraling. Discipline is not about perfection. It is about return. Return to purpose. Return to clarity. Return to the man you promised yourself you'd become. And understand this too. Focus requires fuel. You cannot burn hot if you are undernourished. Feed your body what it needs. Train it with pain. Hydrate it with precision. Sleep with purpose. Move with power. Because the body is not separate from the mind, it is the instrument of its execution. A weak body breeds weak thoughts. A sluggish body creates sluggish will. But a powerful body reinforces discipline. So move. Train. Sweat. Not for vanity, for clarity, for certainty, for command. And then beyond the body, beyond the schedule, beyond the ritual, there is one final force you must conquer: the inner critic, that voice inside that says you're not enough, that you're behind, that you'll fail again. That voice is not your conscience, it is your conditioning. It is the residue of doubt from years of passivity. It is the ghost of every time you let yourself down. And the only way to silence that voice is to overrule it with action. Note affirmation action. Not positive thinking, positive execution. When the voice says you can't, move anyway. When the voice says, what's the point? Act anyway. When the voice says you're too late, go faster. Because action is the antidote to doubt. And movement is the medicine of the focused man. You must become your own source of momentum. You must carry your own weight. You must build such internal velocity that the world no longer needs to push you. You push yourself. And when you do that consistently, relentlessly, without apology, something changes. You no longer just focus. You become focus. You no longer just act with discipline. You become discipline. You no longer chase purpose. You embody it. And from that point forward, the world begins to organize itself around you, not because you demand it, but because your energy makes it impossible not to. The undisciplined become invisible, the focused become inevitable. And now I ask you again, do you understand what's at stake? And now decide. You've waited long enough. You've known what to do. This isn't about learning more. It's about doing what you already know. Master your emotion. Fix your aim. Discipline your thoughts. Build your rituals. Withdraw from the noise. This is how focus is forged. This is how power is built. This is how success becomes inevitable. Not by wishing, not by watching, but by working. Now go. Not tomorrow, not when it feels right. Go now with full force. Be so focused they lose access to you. Be so disciplined they can't reach you. Be so consistent they have no choice but to respect you. You are no longer wasting time. You are becoming the one who commands it. Now build, and don't look back.